Hello and welcome to the Enquiry Podcast. This is a place where we are going to dive into everything that it is to live your life as medicine. So how to follow the breadcrumbs and the signposts in order to be guided to your purpose and to your freedom. How to use your life's challenges as the opportunities that they are for your own healing and growth. My name is Enever. I am your host. I am a psychosomatic practitioner. I am a coach, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I am very excited to get this party started. So let's get going. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Enquiry Podcast. I am very, very excited to have Enever on today for our episode. I think we're up to like 28 now, so starting to chug along, which is exciting.
Amazing.
And you'll notice that I have a different background. So I'm in Bali currently, people, which is very exciting. I love working whilst traveling. Don't know about you guys. So Eddie and I have known each other since 2019?
Yeah, it must be.
Quite a while ago now. And one of the reasons that I wanted to get Eddie on is he's just an all-round awesome human being. But also, I think for me, you've got such a deep care with the people that you work with. And it's something that I really value as well, is like that care piece that is often missing in a lot of therapeutic spaces. And you've also got a whirlpool of education and expertise behind that. And I've personally experienced that with the help that you gave me whilst I was going through my health journey. And so yeah, I know that you've got value to add into this space. I'm really curious as to see how that plays out on this call, but I'm sure it's going to be perfect for everybody listening along. So do you want to kick us off with a bit of an introduction?
Someone wants to eat you there.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing me on. I love doing this stuff. It's all about awareness and just sharing the stories, and hopefully some of my story might resonate with some of the listeners. Eddie. I'm a naturopath and a somatic-based psychotherapist, a psychedelic therapist as well. Yin yoga teacher, been in practice for 16 odd years now. So I've seen a fair few patients over those 16 years. Learned a lot about myself in those 16 years when you're dealing with patients, as you tend to do. And I've been through my own health struggles. 2013, at the tender age of 33, I got diagnosed with cancer. It was 10 days before Christmas, so it was a pretty tough Chrissy that year. I was 33, so I was in the prime of my life, and I had quite a large business at that stage. I had a health centre. We had 15 practitioners, a yoga hall, a cafe, a shop, and I was essentially a single operator, like taking a lot of stress on and not doing overly well with that stress, but, really running myself into the ground with all of that. And I think it all crescendoed with the diagnosis, at just before Christmas. And so after that, I really struggled to get well. It took me 2 years to get well. I actually had 3 relapses over those 2 years. I went from stage 1 to stage 4. I was very, very unwell.
Would have been really
at
scary.
My worst, I had a 9. Yeah, it was. If you don't sign up for that and you don't think it's coming because you're 33, you're in the prime of your life, you feel invincible, yeah? Even if you are stressed and tired like I was, you're like, you're a young body, like you don't think that's going to happen. That happens to like other people or old people or something like that, sick people. And so feeling, bulletproof till suddenly all in one afternoon, holy shit, I'm a cancer patient. I'm dancing with death, with my mortality. And that was pretty confronting, especially, when you're so young. And I had a heavily pregnant wife at that stage who only had like a month or 2 before she was about to burst. I had a 2-year-old son. So like, again, like what the fuck, like honestly. And I really struggled to get well. It was a really tough 2 years. I was very close to checking out. Nothing was working. Now I had testicular cancer, which, if you can get it, boys, don't know these days, but boys out there, when you get diagnosed, like it's got a very, very high success rate with treatment, like in the realms of 94 to 96%, absolute cure. So cancer gone, doesn't come back, 9.4 to 9.6 out of 10 people get that outcome. And here I was, a health professional, 2 years down the track, looking at my 4th line of treatment, 3 relapses, them scratching their heads going, I don't know. We don't know what to do here. There's not enough people in the world that have got to this point for us to really confidently know what to do next. And here I was, a health buddy professional, treated cancer and helped people with cancer, not as much as I do these days, but I was back then. And that was a really pivotal point for me where I had to really take a step back and just like go, what the fuck am I missing here? Like, I'm doing what's required. I'm doing whatever it takes. I'm showing up and I'm getting these treatments, which are brutal. You know, the chemotherapy for testicular cancer is absolute brutality. Like, it's 7 days in a row of chemotherapy, 3 chemos on a Monday, 2 every other day of the week until Sunday, and then 2 weeks to recover. It's not easy whatsoever. And I was, naturopath, so I knew how to do the dietary stuff and the supplements. I was literally like, I'm doing everything. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And it made me have to step back and just have a look at, like, it wasn't what I was doing was the actual problem. It was the way that I was doing it was the problem. So I was still trying to maintain that bloody business, and the drive for why I wanted to do that. We're probably going to get into that when we talk about trauma and childhood stuff. But the reasons why I wouldn't drop that bloody business and keep driving, listening myself into the grave. And so it became really apparent that my environment that I'm trying to get well within isn't conducive to the outcome that I desire. And that was the big, I call it my fry pan to the head moment. Those big cast iron fry pans, just like, it was like a huge aha moment. Like, fuck, I'm missing the point here. I'm trying to medicate this problem away. Whereas the chemistry of my life, the way I'm living my life, is the freaking problem. And these lumps and bumps are just like the call to action, trying to get my attention to get me to learn this shit. And I've been trying to get rid of the messenger, and it wasn't happening, obviously, until I had to make some really big changes. So we did that. I had to sell the business. I had to sell the home, family home, and that 2 kids were born, and which was really hard to do. But, needing to make an extraordinary outcome, I had to put in an extraordinary effort to make some extraordinary choices, unfortunately. I had to ditch all that stuff, which was very hard to let go of, and feelings around shame and feeling like I'd failed. It basically, I got to change that chemistry of my life in such an aggressive way that the environment became conducive to what I was trying to do. And so that, in combination with the right combination of treatments, I also went overseas and did some hypothermia heat treatment, very, very high level, heating the body up to brutal levels. I know what you know all about this with your
I did a lot of research
doing
around
this
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard work, taking your oral temperature to 40 degrees and maintaining that for like 20 to 40 minutes is not easy. So I spent 8 weeks overseas doing really aggressive hypothermia, came back, that combination of those things, changing my environment, my mindset around the environment, the way I dealt with my emotions, the hypothermia, and the right chemo at the end was the magic combination that made my cancer disappear in record time. Like, it literally just melted away. And my oncologist, still to this day, is still absolutely amazed at how quickly this cancer regressed, disappeared. And it's because of the right combo, essentially. And that was coming up 12 years now. I've been clear of cancer. So it was a brutal lesson in human health and stress and epigenetic medicine and all these things I'm really passionate about. And I feel like I got a PhD in it through lived experience, and now I get to share that with my clients and my patients and people that I work with. So that's a very long story for how I'm here talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And it is a big story, right? You've had a big journey in that, and I think, I know that has given you everything that you need to be able to do the work that you do so effectively now. Like, having that lived experience, going through something like that yourself, you would have a level of empathy and understanding for your patients that you can't learn in a textbook. And also that what you're saying really about the combination.
That's a really important point, I reckon. You can only take someone as deep as you've been yourself.
100%.
It's all well and good to have all the theory around, how to do these things, and that's really valuable, and that will help a lot of people. But there's something unique about the lived experience, whether it's the cancer survivor or the person that's worked through their trauma or whatever it is, person that's worked through their Lyme and chronic, co-infection stuff, is that you get it on such a deep level. Like, when people come in the cancer stuff that I do, they sit with me. Like, I think the reason why I'm sought out so much is because it's just someone who just gets it. People just need to understand that person actually understands what I'm going through. They're not looking at me at like a case or something like that. They get the humanness of, the mental and emotional and spiritual journey of a cancer patient, not just the physical lump and bump stuff as well. And I think we can be really highly effective practitioners in our niche, because our niche is in our biography. If we can embrace that and learn how to love that story that we've all got, when we share that, if that's what we step into, I think it's really powerful. Hey?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I personally feel it's like that, like you say, in the biography it is the journey, right? It is our academia, in a sense, is the lived experience. And to be able to really recognize what do I want to say? It's not even like what somebody needs, but being the lived example that it is possible to heal as well. I think is massive, because I'll speak for myself. When I was in when I was in the depths of my, the neurological expression of the Lyme's, part of what was terrifying was that modern medicine, and a lot of like the stuff that I could find online was all saying that there was no way out, that I just had to live with what it was and I had to learn how to manage it. And that's scary. I am a very active person. I like to move my body. The idea of not being able to do that for the rest of my life, that was really, really scary. And I'm sure for a cancer patient, looking down the barrel of mortality, it's a scary thing. And so to see somebody, or to find examples of somebody who's actually moved through and formulated healing from their experience and actually become stronger from it, I think is nearly fundamental to the healing process. It just it plants those seeds that of possibility, and then build the evidence for the unconscious mind to be like, oh, it's okay. We don't have to hold on to this. We can actually move through it. It's okay.
And I say to a lot of my patients, it takes one person to prove that it's possible.
Yeah, totally.
If I can do it, and I'm not the only bloody person that's done it. There's thousands of people worldwide that get through stage 4 cancer and survive. And if they can do it, why can't you? Yeah. Maybe you just need a plan of action. And I think the lived experience person is obviously you come across in your struggles, you Google the shit out of everything. And, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of cancer patients now. So they all tell me their stories of their Googling adventures. And so I've come across most things that are out there in the world. And so you can, through that experience of seeing these things and seeing what's total fluff and what actually has some evidence base behind it and is really useful, like you learn a lot. And I think that's part of that lived experience that you get to enrich somebody's journey with. So, they can come to you and maybe they don't need to go and do all the Googling now because, if they trust in your journey and your expertise, then you've done it for them.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. People need to be held, especially in that stormy weather. They need to be held through that as an anchor. And I think the lived experience survivor, in whatever form that is, provides that anchor in a very rocky time of unknown, because, everyone wants to believe that it's possible to recover from whatever it is. But I think there's always that monkey on the shoulder that goes, well,
totally.
What if that's horseshit? What if that's just fluff? Yeah.
This is a devil's advocate nearly. Like I noticed for myself through that process, there was a part of me that was addicted to the suffering. And I had to really own that part of me. It's sort of like I would project worst case scenarios in my mind and how it would impact and how it would elevate me in some way, shape or form. Like there was nearly like a fantasy around worst case scenario. And I also played that out in other areas of my life. So that was part of my journey of just that recognition. But I think it's quite normal for us to have that part of ourselves. It's like even as a parent, when you've got young kids and they're, you're in the car and you're driving and they're all fucking screaming at the same time. And it's just like, I just want this noise to stop, so I think it's normal to have catastrophic fantasy, but we make it really wrong as a society rather than recognizing, what is the catastrophic fantasy actually asking you to recognize or to shift or to change in your life? Like it's showing you that something's not working. So can we play there, but you can't do that if you're pretending that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think that leads to like the juiciest question I usually ask all my clients and patients. It's, what is this suffering, whatever that suffering is, a cancer diagnosis, anxiety, depression, whatever, what does this mean in the context of your life? And I love that question. It's such a juicy question because like, what is this the call to action to?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I think that then takes you out of this thing's happening to me, to you being an active part in what does this mean and how do I make this thing go away? Like, it changes the energy of the interaction with the healing journey, I think, in a really positive way. But it does, it takes you taking self-responsibility for the actions that you may have consciously or unconsciously, done to help create this thing. And that takes a level of courage as well.
Yeah, massive amount, I think. Awesome. So what are you passionate about now? Where are your interests lying now? What are you in the realm of creating?
Oh, man, I'm pretty sure I'm ADHD as hell, because I got lots, and I love creating things. I love the creative process of creating lots of things. And I'm really been doing a lot. I'm writing a book at the moment called The Keystone Protocol, which is for my cancer patients, basically to answer all the questions and to help the way that I work with my cancer patients, which is a lot of fun to be able to decant all this lived experience down into an actual book that, I'll get printed up, and obviously digital versions of it. But no, I'm enjoying lots of things. For me, the health stuff, it doesn't matter if it's a cancer thing or someone's suffering with, mental health stuff or addiction. It's all just helping humans. I really enjoy helping humans heal and to find out what their suffering means in the context of their life. I really enjoy doing that in whatever shape or form that comes, with the psychedelic work that I do with people, or the psychotherapy work, or like the physical lumps and bumps and ailments that people have. But I'm also, I love creating things. I've created like my yin mat, which is really cool. I'm super excited about, which is a yin yoga mat. It sounds totally different to what I do, but a big part of my healing and what I've done for myself is I really love yin yoga because of the mindful. As part of that, me being a big fella, 6'7", 116 kilos, those little yoga mats aren't fun to do yin yoga on. So I went in search of a yin yoga mat. There's not one on the market, so I made one. I created one, which has been a lot of fun. I really enjoy the creative process of bringing things to life. So that was something that I really enjoyed doing. And I've got another really cool little thing I'm doing at the moment, which is actually T-shirts, believe it or not. So something totally left field, but these the brand's called Mama T, and they're psychedelically inspired T-shirts, which have been a lot of fun creating these with a couple of friends. And I've literally probably got a package on my doorstep as we speak, getting delivered today, of the first little prototype batches, which is fun. And the reason why I do these things, it just helps lighten the things. Like the work that I do in the world of trauma therapy and cancer is quite heavy work. So it's nice just to balance these with the creative stuff, which is fun and a little bit lighter, but also it's still quite meaningful and deep and purposeful stuff. It's just in a different sort of outlet. So lots of things inspire me.
So can we dive into the psychedelic space? Because I think, that's it's an emerging, I guess mainstream, it's emerging as a therapy. Obviously it's been around as a therapy for as long as humans have been. But in our modern era, it seems to be re-emerging as a beautiful treatment process. And in Australia, correct me if I'm wrong here, the therapeutic application is quite new as far as legalities, etc., are concerned. And so I would love to hear a little bit about why psychedelics for you. What do you feel like they bring that is unique to a healing experience? Let's just see where that leads.
Well, there is a psychedelic renaissance, they're calling it. And believe it or not, Australia is at the center of it. We are leading the world in psychedelic research. A lot of people don't think so because it's little old down under. But all eyes are on Australia, believe it or not. We have some of the most in-depth clinical trials and research going on, and everybody is watching us. So, which is amazing, but it's also a lot of pressure. Because this is going to get medicalized in the next few years. This will be mainstream medicine and much more accessible. It's not super accessible at the moment, but it will be just in a couple of years. So there's a lot of pressure on getting it right because it's going to get medicalized, which means there is money to be made from it, and there are vested interests and all these things that will play a part of that, because that's just human nature, unfortunately. And so, setting up the frameworks and the legal frameworks and the financial frameworks is something that everybody's scrambling to try to figure out. And I think everyone is feeling a bit of pressure on it because we don't want to stuff it up. At the moment, to do, let's just say, an MDMA psychedelic assisted therapy session for complex PTSD, which is its indication, or let's say a psilocybin journey, which is its indication at the moment in Australia legally, that can be done for as treatment-resistant depression. At the moment, the cost to do this is around about $25,000 to $35,000.
Holy moly!
Yeah. So that in itself just totally rules it out of most people's capacity to do that. It's a 4-month process from seeing a psychiatrist, who's the prescribing physician at the moment. It's a 4-month process to being approved by case-by-case basis. And so it's, if someone who's treatment-resistant depression, they've tried everything, they're in a world of pain, nothing's working for them, they're probably pretty close to potentially even ending their life. 4 months,
a long time,
is a long time, and they may not make 4 months, the reality for some of these people too. And so it needs to get escalated. But the problem was, because the results and the benefit of the psychedelic medicines in psychological suffering, essentially, let's just say, is so profound. It's been given basically like breakthrough drug approval. So it's come to market incredibly fast, but the frameworks haven't caught up to it or haven't even been developed. And that's where the panic that I was talking about sort of comes in. But the results of how it can shift somebody's life in an afternoon, they call it 10 years of psychotherapy in an afternoon. Because it really is. It takes you down to the deepest level of your suffering, the reason why we're suffering, to the core of what your relationship to yourself is and where that developed from. The most important relationship of all is the relationship that you have to yourself, and that formed at some stage, and that may be totally lopsided and totally not accurate in a way,
most likely,
or not healthy in a way. And the psychedelics, in the most powerful ways, help you to come in and see where that formed, to bring some love and compassion and balance perspective to that, and some healing to that. And so it can shift people's lives where they feel completely stuck. It's very good unstuckness medicine to really help shift things and do a bit of a reset on the system. Yeah. But it's not just about, taking some mushrooms and tripping balls on the couch on a Friday night. It's about, doing it in the proper setting with setting preparation, a lot of psychotherapy in the lead up to really powerful and what's the word I'm trying to look for? Finding your intention, what do you want from this experience, and really getting clear on that. And that's a lot of psychotherapy in the preparation phase. And safety is paramount, obviously, psychological and physiological safety. These things aren't necessarily safe. And then there's a lot of unpacking and integration that happens after it. So it's not just rock up, trip bowls, meet God, life's better.
Well, it's interesting because obviously, particularly mushrooms has the reputation for a little bit of that, right? But as you know, I've done mushrooms a couple of times, and with a Faye, and there's a fundamental difference for me in, having some mushrooms to have a fun time, although she still gives you the medicine you need, and going into a ceremonial space with intention. But even that, without the before and the aftercare of what you're talking about, I mean, I can just imagine how much deeper the experience would be again to wrap it around with that integrative support. And I think that's one of the things that is missing in a lot of forms of these quick therapeutic shifts or changes that people go through, however you access that, is that before and after care. So I love that is being built into the psychedelic therapies as a fundamental requirement.
It's the most important part, to be honest. It's the most important part, because, you can have the fireworks that go on in the psychedelic experience and the most profound experiences. But it's, again, what does that experience mean in the context of your life? That's what needs to be unpacked and integrated and processed through. And I think that's where the long-term benefit comes in, is how well can the person be held post-experience rather than just the life-changing bells and whistles experience. It's amazing. And yes, it can shift things massively, because it's not just a cognitive experience, it's such a somatic experience.
It's a somatic
one, and spiritual experience. Most people say it's the most spiritual, religious thing that they've ever done in their life. It's a very, very common common comment or report. And so, you know, that's all got to be, it's all got to land. And sometimes people need a bit of help to land and share what they're working through and what does this mean and what does they need to change, because that's what the medicine shows. It's where we need to change our life, change our mindset, change our habits, whatever it might be. But it's not just a cognitive understanding. You know, there's a deeper sort of like core understanding of I need to do this. Not I need to do this, you know. It's
a bit more gruntier than that.
Yeah,
it's like, you know,
it's a knowing.
When I first started, I can't remember her name now, but I heard a woman speak on aromatherapy years ago, and she was talking about how to intuitively know your scent, the scent that you need for any given day. She's like, you know, when you hear a baby's name for the first time and you've got one of two responses, it'll be like, oh, that's an interesting name.
It's a lovely name.
The pitch goes up, right? Or it's like, oh, wow, you know, it's really beautiful. And she was explaining that same thing with aromatherapy. And I think it's the same with this intuitive sense around this medicine. It's like when you smell something and you go, oh, and it comes deep in like your throat, and your voice just becomes really deep in response. It's like this primal, like, yes, that's when you know you're onto something that your body really, really needs. Found it really funny in her explanation.
Yeah, and I think it just, you know, the medicines also help you really tune into that intuitive knowing that, you know, to be able to respond to life and the feedback that life gives us from that place. Yeah, I think that's the healthiest people that can react and respond to life's calls to action quickly and appropriately, and to get that deeper knowing, that deeper experience. I think that's what can really shift people's lives and health as well.
Yeah, amazing. I have one final question for you, Eddie, before we wrap up. So obviously, you know, you've been through a lot in your life, and through that journey, you're now doing some really phenomenal work with a lot of people. And there's an element in what you're doing that brings you into the public eye to some degree. And as you know, I'm very passionate about really the piece around allowing yourself to be seen in the personal development journey that we all kind of move through. And I'm kind of curious for you, what has been your journey in that allowing yourself to be seen through this? And what was your edge that you met, and what was the lesson that you got?
For sure. That's a juicy question. I love it. I actually do a little bit of mentoring. I haven't done it much recently, but I used to do a lot of mentoring with Naturopath, because everybody wanted to do a niche. Yeah. And I said it a little bit earlier. It's just like they come in and they want to do fertility because that's really popular at the moment, or whatever it might be. And I was like, no, just like, tell me your story, tell me your biography, because your niche is in your biography. Yeah. What I found with a lot of these practitioners is that they had real ickiness around their biography, and this thing that they were so clearly they got through, which means they're the freaking expert. They got 100% hit rate of getting through and success in that, but they just weren't comfortable with their biography. They hadn't learned to love it yet to be able to share it. And I think for me, it was like, you know, at the start, there was a lot of shame around it. I remember I was in a consult once, it was post-cancer, and it was for a mum, and the mum brought a teenager in, and it wasn't for the teenager. The teenager was sort of like dragged in. So, you know how teenagers are, sitting in the chair next to him, clearly not happy that they had to come to an appointment. And she was talking to me, and it still makes me laugh. The teenager basically like interrupted and said, "What? You had cancer?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You must be a really shit naturopath." I was like, "Oh, ouch."
My fear gets brought to the mirror.
Yeah, but you know, I used to carry a bit of shame and a bit of you know, emotion around that. Like, who am I? What a freaking hypocrite to be able to show up and to you know, to talk to people or to treat people when you've clearly not get your shit together, and you got as sick as you can get, the big dreaded C word. I had to do a lot of work to get through that, and learn to love my biography and see the medicine that was in the journey itself. And I think it was my relationship to what disease and suffering actually is, rather than this thing that you've failed and now you've been, you know, you've succumbed to the suffering. It was more like, this is the medicine that I need to improve my life, and this is powerful medicine that I get to share with the world. So a big part of my sort of journey and framework that I've operated a lot from has been Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, which a lot of people are probably familiar with. We've all watched it in Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. You get the little hero or the little Frodo Baggins that has to go on the adventure, the call to action. Might be cancer diagnosis, could be Lyme disease, could be whatever it is. You have to go in, and gather your crew and then go into the depth of Mordor. But, part of the hero's journey is that the hero comes back and shares what Joseph Campbell called the boon, which is the gifts of the journey, to share the wisdom, the message, the medicine maybe that you get to share with the world. And so it's always like really resonated very, very strongly with me. Like I've got a podcast that I haven't been super active in called the Your Hero's Journey podcast. And many of my cancer support programs called the Your Hero's Journey Cancer Support Program. It's really resonated with me. But I had to get to a point where I could love my journey and I could see the benefit for it. And I wouldn't be who I am today without it. And it's been a really important part, and I wouldn't change that for the world. Even though it was a bloody cancer diagnosis, if I had to do it again, well, I would, because, I've had such powerful medicine and gifts from it that I get to share the boon with people. And I think that's been the key for me, is to understand the medicine and the mess.
Yes.
Yeah. And really love that, to be able to then go out there and get in the public eye and talk about, look what I did and look how sick I got and look what I did to get better. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Yeah. And I think it took a little bit to get there, but I'm at a place where I love my freaking biography and my journey and what it did for me. And so I'll share it from any rooftop that I can.
Yeah. Love that. I love it. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Eddie. How can people find you?
Yeah, there's not too many Eddie Enevers around. I'm pretty easy to find. Instagram, I'm on there. I'm pretty active on socials. I post a couple blogs each week and do lots of videos and stuff. So it's just Eddie Enever, Eddie_Enever on Instagram, and it's something on Facebook. I don't know what my handle is on Facebook, but you'll find me. My website's Eddie, EDDIE, Enever, ENEVER.com. I've got lots of resources on there. A big blog with lots of really important blogs full of lots of medicine for people depending on what they're struggling with. So that's probably the best place to get to know me, is my website.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much again for your time. Absolute incredible amount of value as per usual. Very much appreciate you, and looking forward to speaking to you again soon.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
No worries. Okay, so that's it from us. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been my pleasure to have you here, and I just want to acknowledge you for spending the time to explore how to have more influence on your own life and be able to create the life that it is that you love. If you'd like to take this work further, you can do so by jumping onto my website at www.neridamills.com/masterclass and join me for my upcoming free 4-week masterclass, Time to Thrive, how to utilize your life as medicine to thrive. That's it from us. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.